face. So mostly everybody that's in here right now is family, according to my camera person, who is a professional, by the way.
I am professional.
But either way, we want to say thank you to everybody who is tuned in right now. This is our first time doing this video, and we're just trying to get it off the ground running. And basically, we just want everybody to have fun and kind of learn a little bit about our schooly tiny home lifestyle. And the way that you guys are going to do that is by asking questions. So in the comments section, just ask any questions that pertain to schooly life or our life on the road that you're curious about, because, you know, we're super interesting people, and that's why you guys are here, right? Other than that, though, we want to talk about food, because obviously that is a huge part of our lives together. And everywhere that we've been going over the past few months, we've been trying to get in touch with local cuisine and get in touch with local ingredients, so we want to show you guys that. And we also want to show you that it's really easy to do in a tiny home or a schoolie. And that's what we're about to do. So if you want to come over here for a second, Ethan, I can show you what we're going to be making.
Let's check it out.
Alright, so for the purpose of time-consuming issues, I've already cooked one thing on here, but you guys can get over it. You'll be fine. It's couscous. And this is an ingredient that we love to make on the bus because, one, you can get it for super cheap, and two, it's very, very simple to make. It's literally couscous and water. You can make it with stock also, if you have it, which we can do that in another video where I can show you how to do that from scratch. But basically, yeah, it's really simple to make, and we can keep it bulk store. You look like you got a question. Do we have a question already?
Mike Brew wants to know, did you learn to cook from your dad?
Oh, good Lord. I knew. Why did I know that question was coming? Yes, actually, I learned a lot from him. One thing in particular that I didn't...
Here we go.
Honestly, my dad and I, like, clash on food all the time. Whenever I'm cooking around him, this is my dad. What are you doing there? What is that? And I'm like, Dad, you gotta stop. You gotta stop right now. And he likes to say it's just because he wants to make sure I'm doing it right, or he wants to learn something, but I really know he just likes to hover, but that's okay. Moving forward, one of the things that I did learn from my dad, it's still a favorite recipe that I make all the time, still to this day, and it was a hodgepodge recipe that I don't know how he came up with it, but still to this day I remember it, and I talk about it all the time. He's probably at home right now, and he knows what I'm talking about. It's fried chicken. He did fried chicken, and then on the side, he, I don't know if it was canned tomatoes or he just had some tomatoes laying around, but he made like a tomato gravy, and he poured it over fresh green beans. So fresh green beans, tomato gravy, and fried chicken. It was like bomb. I still think about it. Every time I talk about what my dad makes really good, I always bring that up. So I guess I did learn that from him. Other lessons, he's taught me more lessons than food cooking. I think I'm a better chef than him. We'll have to do that on another episode where we do a throwdown for that.
Kylie wants to know what it is that you just showed us back there.
Kylie?
Mm-hmm.
Which, oh, this?
Or Kayla, sorry.
Oh, Kayla, okay. So this is couscous. And again, if you're living in a tiny home or a bus, one of the biggest things that is super important for like tiny home living, we're full solar. We literally just today got a generator. So
after several months of...
I mean, months and months of us just running off solar. We were like, it's time, let's get a Jenny. The weather now is beautiful, but earlier today it was really gray. But it's been
kind of gray for like a week. That's why we did that. Super
gray. But one of the important things is you have to remember when you're on a school bus or if you're living out anywhere and you don't have a connection to, city electric, you have to be prepared that you're not going to have electricity. So that means that having dry goods is one of the most important things, because if you have to turn this fridge off, I mean, if you've stocked your fridge and freezer and then you lose your power, you're pretty much going to lose all of that stuff that you just went to the grocery store. And nobody wants to go to the grocery store during COVID either. Let's just get that started right now. But, you're going to lose all of that. So that's why we really like dry beans. I personally, my guilty pleasure is canned smoked oysters. I don't have to put them in the refrigerator. Ethan, leaves the bus when I eat them. But canned goods...
They're disgusting.
They're delicious. Canned goods and dry goods like couscous, they last a long time. Actually, something I did want to talk about on this post. We got this from a local market, Elroy's Fine Foods. So I got 8 ounces of couscous, and it was organic, super bougie, but whatever. You know, we try to do that when we can, but at the end of the day, we're living in a tiny home, we're in a schoolie, we're on the road, we just got married. We like to say we're balling on a budget. So, you know, we try to cut corners where we can, but if we can get something and save money by doing it, you can go to a Kroger or a Safeway or Publix, and you can get couscous in this tiny little box for $3.99. We got organic couscous for $3, and I mean, that's enough to serve 6 people right there. We'll probably eat it just between the 2 of us, but that's because we like to eat.
What does it taste like?
It's actually very mild. It doesn't, it's almost like, it's like a very, very tiny pasta, almost, if you can imagine that. The texture, it's granular, but it's, you know what, it actually, a good comparison for a lot of our friends in the South would be like polenta or grits, but not super creamy grits. But really, it takes on the flavor of whatever you cook it with, which is why I folded in some of that arugula. This is Wild Arugala from Monterrey County. And I folded that in there, and that brings me to my next point. I did do this as well before we started. I roasted some red peppers, and I'm going to show you guys something really cool, because people think I can't do anything on the bus because we don't have a stovetop. So, literally, this is our stove. And I cook on that. Like,
that boy does everything.
Bada bing. With that being said, when we are boondocking, for those of you who are not schooly people that are watching right now, which is probably most of you, just my family tuning in to be nice to me. Boondocking is where, you know, we're self-contained. Like, we have our own electricity, we have our own water, but boondocking, you know, there's nobody else around. So when we're in that kind of situation, we like to do a lot of outdoor cooking. We have a really
like
cool,
over the fire.
Yeah, over the fire. We have a little outdoor, like, oven cooker, and we just do everything out there.
And a really nice cast iron, too.
Yeah, so we have options, but when we're in the bus, I can still make stuff happen. So I already did this before you guys tuned in. I roasted a red pepper, and I cooked the couscous before you guys got here. But I'm just going to show you a little demo real fast how easy this is. So actually, they might wonder like what this is like. So let's just kind of show them real fast.
Yeah.
So this is like, just obviously there's been a lot of wear and tear here. I use this a lot, but a little butane fuel tank and a little cooker. And basically this is what I do. You push it down and then boom, it ignites.
That's it.
So right here, this is how I roasted these peppers right here. Literally the exact same pepper, which, by the way, we got from a local produce stand. And a point to the local produce stand thing, we're not trying to, like, put shame on anybody about using organic products or doing anything local, but I feel like a lot of people don't realize how easy and how simple it is to get organic products and get local products at an affordable cost. I mean, it's cheaper. We literally got, if you want to pan over here.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm leaving this here right now. This is how I do this. You literally want it to almost turn black all the way. And then once that happens, I put it into a Ziploc bag and close the Ziploc bag 75% of the way. Set it to the side for 20 minutes, do whatever I gotta do, and then the skin will literally peel off and you'll be left with that. So while that's happening, I can talk about this for a second. All of this produce here, plus all of the produce that I'm going to be cooking, the wild arugula, the onions, everything, all of that fresh stuff came from a local spot, and we got all of it for $10. If you went to Kroger or Publix or Safeway, it's same thing with the couscous. Like, you would be spending so much more than that. That's why at the end of the day, you know, some people think the convenience of going to a Kroger just makes sense, but if you're trying to feed a family and also stimulate your local economy, it just makes sense.
Which is pretty important right now with COVID shutting down so many
important.
businesses. We got a couple questions.
All right, let's do it.
What is the weirdest thing you've made?
Weirdest food?
Yeah.
Oh, good God. Who's asking that question? Weirdest food I've ever made. Weirdest food I've ever... That's actually a question for Ethan. Because, to me,
Made, not eaten.
Well, what's the weirdest food that you think that I've made? I don't know, because I've made
How
a lot
about 2 weeks ago in San Francisco?
Oh, okay. Well, that wasn't weird, but I guess...
I mean, most people would consider it pretty weird.
Yeah, our palates are a lot different than I feel like a lot of our fan bases. We like bizarre foods. We like, I mean, obviously you see these whole prawns right here. And these are beautiful, okay? I will answer that question, but just so you see the spots here? See the eyes? I mean, these are clean, beautiful shrimp that literally were caught yesterday. Prawns, not shrimp. There is a difference. I can talk about that later. But, you know, I guess it's all about your definition of weird. The other, last week... In San Francisco, I did Chiapino, which is like a San Francisco classic, and I did do a couple different things. I put like octopus.
Oh no, that's not what I was talking about.
Oh,
the Chiapino was amazing. I'm talking about the sand crabs or the.
Oh, yes. Okay. Also, disclaimer: if I have one vice, I might accidentally have a potty mouth sometimes, so if you hear something slip, just be advised. This is a PG, maybe PG-13 situation here. But anyways, moving forward, yes, that was literally that. You're right. I did not realize that what you were talking about. The weirdest thing I have ever made. Ethan and I dug up. People call them sand fleas. Other people call them mole crabs or sand crabs. But I cooked. We went and harvested them right from the beach and
in San Francisco.
In San Francisco, brought them home. I purged them the best way I knew how. There really weren't any recipes online for how to cook sand fleas, so I purged them the way that I would purge like clams or mussels, which is basically purging them in water with a little bit of cornmeal and salt, and they kind of clean themselves. And yeah, they were. I kept wanting to eat them, but Ethan was really nervous that we were gonna get some kind of parasite. So I ate about 5 or 6, and then Ethan called it quits. But they were delicious. They were bizarre, but that's probably the weirdest thing I've ever made. Right now, by the way, though, guys, we have another question.
We got plenty of questions if you want to go through some.
Just real quick before we answer any more questions, I do want to let you guys know. So, again, on the bus, I'm all about reduce, reuse, recycle. So the oil that I am cooking these onions down in, again, local onions, we got all that produce for 10, but the oil is actually from the sun-dried tomatoes that are going to be used in this dish, and I use that because there's so much oil left over, it just makes sense. I don't want to waste it, and it has a lot of flavor packed into it, so that's why I'm using it. But yeah, move forward. What's the next question?
Let's see here. Jim wants to know how he's going to sample the food.
I wish that technology existed, but one thing that I can tell you is that we are going to have the recipe and all of the ingredients and how to make it listed on our Instagram page. So if you guys follow us here already, but you don't follow us on Instagram, then head over there after the video, and we're gonna plate the finished product, take a picture, and you guys can literally replicate the recipe.
And we'll provide the recipe itself. We're also going to be uploading this video onto YouTube and start our first official YouTube channel. Yep. But it's going to be Bus Bites with Brit, not Nomadic Newlyweds Adventure. Yeah, we're playing around with it, so that's why we're really thankful that everybody has come to check this out, because at the end of the day, like, we're just here to have fun, and we want to educate people who are interested in the lifestyle, and, I mean... Greg said what, you don't deliver?
Who said we don't deliver?
Greg.
Oh my goodness. Well, maybe
so what's the hardest part of cooking on a bus?
The smell, for sure. Okay, this actually brings me to the tool I'm using right now, so that's a perfect question.
What is that?
This is my garlic press, which from a chef standpoint, not, I'm definitely a cook. I'm not trained in any way. I've never went to culinary school. I just have a passion for food, and I like to share that with other people. But at the end of the day, this is not the most ergonomic tool. You see I have a lot of garlic left over, but for smell on the bus, sneaky garlic fingers, you can't get that off for a couple of days, no matter how much you wash. But that's the hardest part of cooking on a bus, is that, we have some ventilation. This right here is nothing fancy, but we've got that going on.
Our little skylight, we never removed it. We kept our original one. We liked it.
Yeah, we have the hatch, and we get up there all the time. But that is something that's hard. Particularly, one of our friends, Glenn and Susie Normington, they hosted us out in
Colorado.
And we stayed with their daughter, Krista, and I made, for some stupid reason, sausage and cabbage with a bunch of garlic in the bus, and we couldn't get it out for probably a week. So,
smelled like garlic in the bus for about a week.
Yeah, people, you might think, it's hard. I guess it just depends on what you like to cook. We don't have an oven, but when Ethan and I were deciding on the, the build out, we were like, how often do we even use the oven in our apartment? So we paid attention to it for about 3 months, and in that entire 3 months time, we only use it once. I do a lot of stovetop cooking, so it's not hard to manage without an oven, but ventilation and garlic smells are definitely the trickiest thing. Everything else you just gotta kind of learn. You gotta deal with it and make it happen.
Yep.
So I just added some organic tomatoes. And again, no pretentiousness here. If you guys can't find organic anything, then don't use it. All the time we use stuff that's not organic. We just got a deal on this, so...
We just try to stay as local as possible, as often as possible.
So what is cool, you can see that kind of orangey color. If you were using, normally olive oil, it's got a lower smoking point. So this olive oil, it's actually a blend. That's what they pack the tomatoes in. So it's got a little bit of the refined olive oil in it, which has a higher smoking point. That just kind of, makes it so that you can frizzle things a little bit more without too much smoke and without damaging the oil and losing the flavor. You got another question?
Yeah, I got plenty.
All right.
Jay wants to know, do we cook enough for leftovers so that you don't have to cook as often?
That's actually a great question. So here is an example of something that I do. This is our freezer, and this is stock. So I make what I can that will have like maybe one set of leftovers, but we don't have a lot of storage. So bulk cooking, it's only an option for us if we can freeze it. So a lot of soups and stocks I do bulk freeze or bulk cook. This is something I made earlier today. It's still in the process of freezing, but we had a leftover chicken carcass. So whenever I have that, I never throw it away, and nobody else should be throwing that away either. It's so simple to make a fresh stock, and you can freeze it. You can use it right away, whatever you want to do. But essentially, you cook that down with whatever pantry cleaning out ingredients you have. Celery, carrots, onion. I put that particular stock, I put in ingredients for pho, which is a Vietnamese style soup that Ethan and I love.
So good.
So star anise, clove, a little cinnamon, and charred ginger and onion. And I just kind of, we got a rotisserie chicken from the grocery, and I used that, and I just boiled it down until we got that soup, or the stock. So in that sense, I guess we have leftovers, but never more than like one or two servings.
Yeah.
Because if we can't freeze it, it just doesn't make sense on the road.
Yeah, the freezer's pretty small.
Yeah, and that's not to say that it can't be done. Other people have bigger refrigerators than us, and it just makes more sense for them, but for us at this time, it just doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So. All right, babe, fire them off. Keep them coming.
What's your favorite meal, and what's my favorite meal?
Are we... Who
on the
that?
bus? Your dad.
Okay, so on the bus, Ethan's favorite thing to make, actually, that is your favorite thing to make. He hasn't really ever cooked our entire relationship. And now, all of a sudden that he's on the bus, he thinks he's Chef Boyardee.
I am.
But something like if I'm just, working, or if I just don't feel like cooking, which is very rare, he loves to make himself little breakfast burritos. So we always have eggs on the bus. It's like we either hard boil them or pickle them. Like I love pickled eggs. Or we'll make, breakfast in the morning. So that's pretty popular, and pretty much every town we go to, everybody who knows me knows I'm a chili head. I try to get a hot sauce from every town. So that's a super easy breakfast for Ethan, and we always have some kind of cool local hot sauce, a little scrambled egg with cheese on a fresh tortilla, and then hot sauce. For me, my favorite thing...
We've also been doing like a lot of tostadas recently.
Yes, I did do... We were on a tostada kick. For me, my favorite thing on the bus to make, if I'm looking for something super simple, pasta has been a really good thing to make because, and not even like, a spaghetti with like canned sauce from the grocery store. Absolutely not. Just something super simple like angel hair pasta with really good olive oil, and I love capers. So literally capers, olive oils, and I'll shave a little bit of cheese over the top, a nice fresh cheese, and super easy. And yeah, I really like that. That's what I like for myself.
What do we got going on here?
All right, so far these darker spots here, those are going to be the sun-dried tomatoes that I use the olive oil from, and we got a little capers, and then those local tomatoes and the onion, and I'm just kind of getting that meld together, and in a second I'm going to deglaze my pan with a little white wine and kind of let that come up, and then after that drop the shrimp in and we'll be done. So I'm going to do a couple more questions.
Yeah. So
actually, I'm going to have a drink from my cup from Christy Renew and James Renew in Florida, where we have hailed from. They got us this for a wedding present, so thank you very much, and cheers to you. I'm having a drink.
So, do we have a plan as far as how often we're going to do bus bites with Brit, and how we're going to notify people about that?
That's a really good question. We've been talking about it since the second we bought the bus.
Yep.
But this is our first time. We're going to get feedback from everybody. I'm adding a little bit of hot paprika from this can. I use all my paprika comes from this brand. They're amazing and they're really affordable. This whole can was only $2.99 and I found them for like $1.79, so just FYI, they're incredible. But yeah, I don't know. I would ideally like to do it at some point once a week, but where we are right now, I mean, we're both very busy with our full-time jobs because we work full-time on the road. I think it would be probably more realistic that every 2 weeks, just until we get the hang of it. Or maybe, I don't know, depending on the feedback that we get from you guys. I'm not sure. I definitely, ideally, I think every 2 weeks, but...
That's the plan.
Yeah.
But life on the road can be challenging, and
yes.
we got to plan accordingly. And like she was saying with our jobs too, so sometimes it can be a little overwhelming, so we'll see.
So I just added about half of a cup, not even, of white wine, and I'm just kind of getting all those brown bits scraped off the bottom, and I'm going to let this reduce a little bit and add a little tiny knob of butter, and that's just going to be really rich and creamy, and then I'm going to sort of poach these shrimp in that. And okay, a little word to anybody who's freaked out about the head-on thing. You guys eat shrimp at restaurants, okay? You eat prawns at restaurants. This is what they look like before they get to your table, all cleaned and pretty. Now, other people, I did not devein these, and the reason I didn't, it's not going to hurt you if you don't devein the shrimp. I personally, as a personal preference, feel like it preserves the integrity of the shrimp or the prawn. If I look at the back of a prawn and I see that there's a very distinct dark line, I will go the extra step to devein them. But at the end of the day, it's not going to hurt you. And when you rip the head off, it's just going to be a regular shrimp or prawn. The reason I like to keep it on is because Ethan and I are more adventurous eaters, and we like to, get all those juices in there. But don't be freaked out. If you guys want to follow this recipe, you can 100% use even tailless shrimp, whatever kind of shrimp that you like. So,
Chef BRD.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Tina said to get the garlic and stink off your fingers, use stainless steel.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Your dad wants to remember the soup that he taught you how to cook from the stock of a smoked chicken carcass.
He taught me how to cook that.
Remember the soup Papa taught you how to make from the stock of that smoked chicken carcass.
Yeah, he's just saying that because he's obsessed with that soup. That was like his favorite thing that I made while we were there. So yeah, we had a smoked chicken and I made the stock from that. And then it was just really hearty. It had been kind of cold and we were just looking for something, to warm us up. So we did andouille sausage, the stock from a smoked chicken, and some potatoes, carrot, like basic mirepoix, and then potatoes, but we thickened it with cannellini beans. So as it reduced, those beans kind of like broke apart a little bit, and it was really rich and it was super tasty with cornbread on the side. And yeah, that was a good dish. But I don't know what's going on with that he thinks that he made the dish.
So what do we got going on?
Okay, so we've reduced this down a little bit, and I added a little bit of butter, and basically I'm about ready to drop the shrimp in and then put the lid on and kind of let them come up.
Perfect.
All right, next question.
What has been the most exciting thing to cook since we've been out on our adventure?
I didn't expect to have so many cooking questions. I thought we were going to have a lot more about the bus. The most exciting thing to cook, hands down, was the chiapino that I was talking about earlier.
I would definitely agree with that. That was amazing.
So, everywhere, we were trying to go...
In San Francisco,
the pandemic was going on, and we've been trying to navigate that as respectfully and responsibly as we can. But what was really crazy is that there were some restaurants that were open for to-go and takeout or even outdoor dining, and we were thinking to ourselves, okay, we'll treat ourselves. Let's get San Francisco-style chiapino with a sourdough roll.
Local seafood.
The cheapest place that we could find was probably $45 for a bowl of chiapino, and at that point, I was like, I can make this on my own. So
for less than that, way less.
So we actually did end up spending probably about, I think the total was $50 to $55 at this seafood market called Sunfat Seafood Market in San Francisco.
Amazing place.
We got 30 oysters, variety of different oysters, which if anybody follows us on Facebook or Instagram, you probably saw that pictures. Already. But those oysters were incredible. And on top of that, I got a really beautiful piece of salmon. I got... some PEI mussels, clams. I just got some local squid. I got octopus, and I cooked this chiapino. Like, we sat in a bus. Literally, we were looking out at the ocean, and I had cooked this entire dish, which literally we ate it for 3 days. That was a leftover situation that I didn't want to freeze because of the seafood, and I think that, at the end of the day, what the serving size was compared to the oysters and everything that we got, we were like, this is a no-brainer. And we were right next to the water in Pacifica, California. It was, definitely the best thing I think I've made on the bus. The funnest thing.
For sure. I totally agree with that, too.
Alrighty, baby. What's going on?
How hard would you say it is to manage bus life and work life and still enjoy travel?
Actually, it's proving to be incredibly difficult. By the way, I'm turning the heat off on these. I left it on for just a minute because they were larger, but the residual steam and heat is just going to go ahead and poach those guys up. And while I am doing that, I am going to fold in these red peppers to this. But bus life and work life, it has been very challenging. Not only mostly because of COVID, but there's other factors. We've been having some issues with our Wi-Fi. I'm not going to say the provider that we're using right now because I don't even want to say their name. I'm so frustrated, but we use a lot of data for what we do. Ethan is designing websites and managing social media accounts, and I am a content writer. Not even for ourselves. I do that for a third party. So I have responsibilities to meet deadlines, and so does he. So, there's been times when we haven't been able to enjoy a city because our internet's been so messed up. And normally, if the internet wasn't messed up, we could be like, oh, it's no big deal, we'll go to a coffee shop. But in California, it's been really challenging because
everything's closed.
So even if you can do outdoor dining or outdoor, if you can get a cup of coffee and use the internet for an hour, if it's raining or, a table is taken, it's definitely proved to be really challenging.
Yeah.
At the same time, we have seen some incredibly beautiful things. Antelope Island in Utah was incredible. We met really awesome people. We saw wild buffalo, which was
literally 20 feet from the bus. They were walking around us in the middle of the night and during the day.
Yeah.
And then the salt flats was pretty cool too.
I think it is something, people look, I myself, excuse me, I'm gonna grab a cucumber. I myself, before we started traveling, I would look at these social media blogs and people who were just like, oh, this is the life, and taking these beautiful pictures and everything looks so curated and perfect, and that's just not how it is. I mean, there are amazing moments, and you meet some great people, and you see some beautiful things, but life on the road can be challenging, and with COVID, you know, it's been unique. So what I'm doing right now, this is like my favorite little peeler. It just makes things look cute. This is like pretty much every Asian restaurant that you go to, well, Thai restaurant, you'll see like, you know, carrots or maybe cucumber like this peeled on the side. This is totally an unnecessary thing. It's just me doing it because I'm a weirdo. But this little peeler cost me $1 at my local Asian grocery store. And if anybody is watching from Columbus, Saraga International has these, I know for a fact, for only $1. So,
and there's a billion other reasons you should go to that grocery store
yeah,
as well.
It's an amazing grocery. If anybody lives in the area, even if you don't get a single thing from there, it's worth the daily experience.
Just walking through it is an experience.
Yeah.
You'll see some interesting things.
But yeah, it's been hard. You know, you want to sit there and you want to live this life that you've seen other people living on Facebook and Instagram. But at the end of the day, you know, a lot of people pretend that it's very curated. They don't show the bad. They don't show the hard days when your solar goes out and you have to unplug your fridge, or you know, you can't find a place to park, or you know, things like that. So it's challenging, but you have to take the good with the bad, otherwise why are you doing it?
Yep,
so,
for sure.
Yeah.
Are those red peppers going into the dish? Did you already put them in the pan?
I did. So the red peppers got folded into the couscous, and the couscous also had that wild arugula, some cracked black pepper, and olive oil, and now I'm putting these cucumbers that I'm doing. I made a little brine beforehand, and this has pink peppercorns, which again, I got all of these pink peppercorns for like 59 cents from a local grocery because, you know, you can buy things as you need for recipes in bulk at certain grocery stores. So that's something people should remember.
So you're soaking the cucumber in that brine that you made earlier?
Yeah, so I'm just soaking those in there because that's going to like be on the side of the dish. And yeah, the red peppers went into the couscous.
Perfect.
So, folded those in there. And then these are done, so I'm going to be plating here in a second. But before I do that, I do want to make a little yogurt drizzle to go over the top. I'm going to trash this.
Do you miss anything from home that you can't get on the road?
Oh, 100%. I miss my family so much. I miss my mom and my dad. I miss, now I'm gonna cry. I miss my little sister and her daughter Cordelia, our niece. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that I miss. Other things, I guess, just kind of being able to know the area and not have to like worry. What about you? I think for me it's just mostly seeing family. So.
I agree. Like, we both love to travel, so like just going to the old spots and regular places you would normally go isn't really too much of a big deal. We like seeing new things and we like adventure. It's more of just, you know, missing family and friends and that kind of stuff.
But at the same time, I don't feel like I'm not home. I feel more at home in the bus than I have ever felt in my entire life. I think it's because I have my husband with me, and like we're a unit now, and it's our own thing. But I do miss, you know, it's not like we can just hop on a plane right now, and if we're feeling homesick to see family, we can't just do that right now. So that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, for sure. Here's a doozy for you.
Oh, goodness.
How hard has bus life been with COVID restrictions?
Well, as I said earlier, with more than anything, one of the biggest pros is...
Real quick, what are we doing here?
Okay, so yeah, I just have a little piece of... Here, I don't need that. It's just a little lemon zest. But yeah, this is just a little lemon juice. And what I'm going to do here is going to be a drizzle for over the top. Everybody's obsessed with Greek yogurt, but sometimes Greek yogurt doesn't make sense. So this is just a European style yogurt that's a little bit thinner. And I'm going to add about 1/4 of a cup into it. And a little fresh cracked pepper. And a little salt, which, by the way, that salt is a mix of Himalayan sea salt and the salt that we got from the salt flats in Utah.
In Utah, yep.
Yeah.
The salt flats in Utah is like, it's 98? Is that what it is? It's like 98% table salt, the ground is. So you can literally just grab the salt from the ground and use it to cook with.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
I mean, we made some margaritas while we were out there, and it was cool. But yeah, there's no real nutrient value to it, so we mix it with a little of that Himalayan salt, and I cook with it pretty much every day. But yeah, this is the consistency that you're looking for. You want it to be like a dressing almost, like a yogurt dressing. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I think I'm gonna plate.
Okay.
But what was the question you were asking about? Oh, COVID.
COVID restrictions.
At the end of the day, it's been kind of hard because of the internet and us not being able, in a crisis situation where like, oh my gosh, I have to meet a deadline right now. I have to be able to tune in and get on my Wi-Fi.
But you can't go into a coffee shop and connect to internet
because my internet's messed up. That is challenging. At the flip of the coin, Ethan and I are super big foodies, and we like to go out to eat a lot and like different places that we travel. So that's kind of helped us like maybe rein it in a little bit and forced us to be doing more cooking and finding local markets and things like that. The other challenging thing though is right now in California, state parks are closed for overnight camping, and a lot of people who host RVers are not doing it. They're not letting us stay. And a lot of like hotels, even if you're non-essential travel. So we social distance. We live in a bus. We don't try to be engaged with anybody, mostly because we're just we just want it to be the two of us. So that really kind of stinks when we're trying to like get in and just like, we want to be in this place for 6 days and we can't even find a place to park. That's really, really hard. So that's kind of California, but I mean, if you guys saw our post the other day, like we were seeing whales, like we've seen so much beautiful stuff, it just makes sense to be here. So
for sure.
Yeah.
So what's the best and worst thing about bus life?
You answer that one. What's your best thing?
The best thing? Just being able to travel and see whatever you want, and just it feel almost free. I feel free. There's nothing holding me back from being in a specific location or anything like that. Like, we'll wake up and be like, hey, you want to just go drive out to this city or state and go see this? Like, it looks really cool, and just be able to do that. That's definitely the best.
That is the best thing, in my opinion, too. The freedom, seeing things that you've never seen before, just experiencing, new cities. That's probably the best thing. And knowing that we don't have to pay $1,000 a month in rent. We own our home. I think that's another really good thing.
Yeah, for sure. Or, to spend, couple grand on a vacation, when really if we just want to go somewhere that somebody already pays, several $1,000s to go on vacation, we'll just drive there and not have to spend all that,
Yeah. And that's the thing too, like, we got married on this trip during COVID. We just had to say, we're doing it, we're getting it done. Like, it's just going to be the two of us, and that's fine. And that was one of the most beautiful experiences I ever could have asked for. Obviously, okay, this is it. Yeah, I'm going to do a little drizzle here.
So you put the couscous on the...
Couscous as the base, the wild arugula, roasted red pepper couscous, and then the little combination of the sun-dried tomatoes and all that stuff with the white wine. And then I'm just put a little of that yogurt drizzle over the top, hit it with a little parsley, and a little of these. And the reason I did these cucumbers on the side is just because, the couscous is really dense, it's really rich, and the yogurt sauce, that's like a creamy sauce, and there's a lot of butter in the sauce, so we just want a little acid to kind of break it up on the side. Not necessarily eat it in one bite together. I guess I could have done that as a relish, but I think, in my mind, I'm thinking just kind of take a little nibble. So, yeah, that's it. Let's take a quick look at that, and then I'm going to answer a couple more questions before we pop off.
That looks amazing. I'm really hungry now.
So, yeah, that's, there's pros and cons to the traveling. Again, I think that COVID's probably the worst thing, and trying to be respectful of other people, and, we're not necessarily hyper paranoid about it. I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody who has, elevated concerns due to health, but it's just not not something we're super worried about, but we do try to give other people their space, and navigating that on the road is kind of tricky. So.
Yep, and obviously we try to abide by all the laws and regulations and
Yep.
give people as much space as they want.
But sometimes they don't make sense.
How is Frankie on the road?
Frankie he's actually napping right now. But yeah, he's been getting better. He's a 12-year-old diabetic cat, so it's, to be expected how he is. But he's been getting better. When we park, he loves running up and down the windows, so things are getting better. But, yeah, if we don't have any more questions, I think we should probably eat.
We got 2 more.
Alright, let's answer them.
Okay, do you still make gluten-free meals or anything like that?
I never really was, coincidentally, because I, was in keto, my meals happened to be gluten-free, but in full, transparency, I have been, a chunky butt since we've been on the road. I've been eating, tacos and pasta and sourdough bread in San Francisco, but, full transparency, I don't care. We've just been trying to, experience local cuisine as much as we can. But, yeah, I do keto meals, or low-carb meals sometimes. This one definitely isn't one of them. But, yeah, sometimes, but not all the time.
Alright, guys, well, here is the dish. And now I'm hungry because I saw how amazing this looks. So we are going to log off here and enjoy this amazing food.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much. And visit our Instagram, please. You'll see the finished product and the recipe.
See you guys.